Aircraft that are not running and set up for people to look at are called static display aircraft. These airplanes are made as safe as possible by the aircrew so that visitors cannot do a whole lot of damage to themselves or the airplane. However, from crowds to weather to the aircraft themselves, there are still many safety issues. There are many hazards to be found on a flight line, including flight lines that have only static displays. A Cessna aircraft, looking perfectly harmless, will have hazards even when properly prepared for static display. These hazards can range from striking hazards like propellers, edges of wings, pitot tubes, tripping over chocks and wheels, to things like cords and other display gear. All of these can catch a person who isn't watching what they're doing. Standing too close to a fuel vent may not be a good idea, especially in warm to hot weather. Larger aircraft, such as the A-10 or other tactical aircraft, have many more things to harm the person who isn't watching out. Antenna, weapon pods, landing gear doors, low clearance spaces, and even other people in close proximity to the aircraft can be dangerous if one is not careful. Even big aircraft, like the C-130 and B-52, can have hazards. Remember, these aircraft were not designed with personal safety in mind. They were designed to carry things that are needed by the modern warrior. So they're much more prone to having odd objects sticking out places that one would not expect them to be. A good rule of thumb is that if you can reach out and touch the airplane, it can reach out and touch you. There are other hazards as well. Some of these aircraft may be dripping oil or other substances, creating a slick surface that will cause you to stumble and fall. But a lot of these substances may be hazardous, so never touch any fluid that is leaking from an aircraft. If you see fluid leaking or fluid on the ground, advise the nearest military personnel. Another hazard is the weather. Even if it's not raining out, the ramp, which is the ground where the aircraft park, may be wet and slippery. Be very careful when walking on wet ground, especially around aircraft. You may slip and fall or hit a body part on a piece of the airplane. When working around aircraft at night, including on a lighted ramp, be extra cautious. The same hazards that are there during the day are there at night, just a lot harder to see. Lights shining on the aircraft can create shadows where hazards await. Always slow down whatever you're doing when it is dark. You are especially more likely to trip over something at night. The insides of aircraft have a lot of hazards as well. As you can see, the interior of a military airplane doesn't have the fancy plastic and cloth covering the metal ribs like airliners do. There is also a lot of equipment mounted and stored directly to the airplane. Overhead racks, electronic boxes, hooks, stowing equipment, seats, and a lot of other things are on the inside. If you are in a large group, try not to stand too close to the person next to you in case they stumble. They won't knock you into something in the wall. One of the biggest hazards in a cargo type aircraft are the ramps and pallet rollers mounted on the floor. These rollers make it easy for the cargo plane to do what it does best, haul stuff. However, these rollers are mounted above floor level. It is very easy for someone to trip over the roller bar. And if you step on one of the rollers, you will go flying, resulting in a sprained ankle or worse. Do not step on the rollers. Be sure to walk on one side of them. Working around operating aircraft takes even more vigilance. Aircraft that have engines running are very dangerous places to be. We will first talk about jets. When a jet engine is running, it is taking air from the front of the engine, compressing it, and shooting it out the back. Even if the plane is not moving, it is dangerous around a jet engine. If you look at this video in the area I have highlighted, you can see the water on the ground being pushed by the engine exhaust or jet blast. On an average jet engine, the exhaust is blowing at approximately 35 miles an hour when the engine is idling. But to get the airplane to start moving, the jet blast will climb as high as 150 miles an hour. The other thing to be concerned about is temperature. The exhaust is very hot as it leaves the engine. Even 40 feet away, or about 3 car lengths, the temperature is still about 150 degrees. When it leaves the engine itself, the exhaust can range upwards of 600 degrees. The bottom line is, do not stand behind a jet that is running. Here's an illustration of what jet blast can do. Jets are also hazardous in front. Jets operate by sucking air through their intake. You can see the jet here sucking snow off the ground and into the engine. Jets can also suck objects in, which is why it's very important not to drop anything on the airport ramp or the flight line. Anything that gets dropped, called FOD, for foreign object damage, can get sucked into a jet engine and cause thousands of dollars worth of damage. There are numerous cases where people have gotten too close to running jet engines and they have been sucked in. Here's a video from an aircraft carrier where a crewman got too close and the engine sucked him in. Fortunately, he wasn't killed because his arm wedged him in the intake. However, the large explosion was his helmet being sucked off of his head and going through the engine. There are also hazards associated with the propeller-driven aircraft, both turboprop and piston. Obviously, the largest hazard is the spinning propeller. It can kill you. Stay at least 15 feet away from any moving propeller. The other hazard is propeller wash or prop wash. The engine's exhaust is inconsequential, but the wind generated by the propeller moving the air is very similar to a jet blast. The difference is that the prop wash covers a larger area than jet blast and is generally closer to the ground. Dirt, small objects, pebbles, and sand can be picked up and blown into you, particularly your eyes. If you have to be behind a propeller airplane that is running, turn your body to shield your face. Do not forget about another type of aircraft, the helicopter. Some helicopters have wheels, others do not. In any event, stay at least 50 feet away from a helicopter with turning blades, especially at the rear of the helicopter. The tail rotor is where most accidents happen. Helicopters that don't have wheels have to hover a short distance above the ground to move from one area to the next. Helicopters push large amounts of air down towards the ground, where it swirls out and up. Watch this video and specifically look at the water and grass alongside the pond. It will show you what downdraft from a helicopter looks like and how it moves. Remember, always stay at least 50 feet away from a running helicopter. In addition to flight line hazards and prevention, there are 5 basic flight line safety rules. Airplanes are always fire risks due to fuel and fluids. No smoking. If you are running, you aren't watching for hazards. No running. Watching out for hazards, not officers, keeps you safe. No saluting. Practical jokes or horseplay is a good way to get hurt. No horseplay. Hats can be blown off and become fog. No hats around running aircraft. However, This does not apply to the static display area. Operating airplanes, especially jets, are very loud. Be sure to use hearing protection when working around operational aircraft. Foam earplugs work well and can be carried in your pocket. Eye protection is a good way to avoid jet blast and prop wash hazards. Sunglasses offer a little protection. However, safety glasses and/or goggles are the best eye protection. It gets hot out on the flight line. Always have a method of hydration, Camelback or Canteen, readily available or on you to prevent dehydration. Air shows are a lot of fun. Lots to see and lots to do. By avoiding flight line hazards and following the safety procedures, you can lessen your chances of getting hurt, because getting hurt is no fun at all.